The story opens with the hero's flashback. He reflects that everyone in this world is born with a gift from the gods, a divine occupation, but his fate? A thief. Branded as useless in a world ruled by magic, he was cast away. Yet deep inside he holds a fierce wish. If only he could gain true power, he could finally prove himself. At present, the goddess Lunalith's divination echoes in his mind, a warning that the demonic dragon will rise again, multiplying its minions until humanity and every other living creature are wiped from existence. And now he stands with his companions, Farina, the Archknight, Sheska, the High Priestess, and Enju, Master of Automation. Together with him, Might, the Thief, who once had nothing, they've come to bring the demonic dragon to its end. Farina charges at the dragon, sword blazing with power. She swings with crushing force, unleashing a deadly wave that slams into the beast. Behind her, the others ready their own moves, each preparing to strike with everything they've got. Might draws his dagger and sprints toward the dragon, calling to Farina to wait until he creates an opening. Circling to the creature's other side, he climbs onto its tail, gripping tightly as he ascends. Not his brightest moment. In his mind, one thought burns clear. One wrong move, and he's dead. He shouts to Enju to begin. She activates her automation core, initiating covering fire as the Magnaflame Hexablast roars toward the dragon, striking it hard. The beast reels in pain while Might cries out to draw its focus toward himself. As the dragon turns and lunges, he leaps aside just in time, barely dodging the deadly strike. Sheska yells for him to come back, but Might urges her to focus on protecting Farina. He recalls the saying that a thief who doesn't use his full technique is nothing but useless. But still, he can't help wishing he had magic of his own. Motivational posters for thieves must be depressing. Then, in a burst of instinct, he strikes with his hands, the attack landing squarely on the dragon and sending it crashing to the ground. Seeing his chance, Might commands the others to play their part, and all three move in, executing their attacks exactly as he directs. He orders them to keep firing mana and energy shots. Enju unleashes a surge of energy through her magical flash, hitting the dragon so hard it can't even defend against its own thrashing. Meanwhile, Sheska's task is to shield Enju and Farina with her spells, as the two finish the dragon once and for all. Seizing her moment, Farina raises her sword high and charges straight at the dragon. With a single, devastating strike, she ends the creature's fight, bringing it crashing down to the ground. That was almost too easy. After the dragon falls and lies still, they all stand there, catching their breath. Then Might suddenly feels something, a strange pulse drawing his gaze to the sword Farina used to slay the beast. He dashes forward and snatches the weapon from Farina's hands before anyone can react. Farina stares, bewildered, as he steps in front of the fallen dragon, the weapon glowing while it absorbs all the remaining power around it. Stealing from your friends. Classic thief move. Cracks of dark blood spread across Might's body, and in the next instant, he collapses to the ground, unconscious. The others rush in, surrounding him, stunned by what's just happened. Seeing his condition, Sheska explains that it's a death curse, something that strikes when a high-ranked dragon is slain. She believes Might knew about it all along, but inside, Might thinks bitterly that he had no idea. It was only his thief's survival instinct that drove him to steal the sword and act without thinking. They all stand around him, crying, desperate to heal him. But in his fading thoughts, Might reflects that in the end, he broke the limits of his cursed occupation, and maybe that isn't such a bad thing. Not the flex he probably imagined. Sheska clutches his hand, tears streaming down her face, pleading why he had to do this. He murmurs that he never wanted to see her cry. As his voice weakens, memories flicker through his mind. His childhood in the alleys, growing up with nowhere else to go, playing in the dirt because that was all a thief like him ever had. He recalls the day he fell sick, when even the street kids who once played with him wanted to leave him behind. Not wanting to harm anyone, he wandered alone into the forest. Even rejection has standards, apparently. There, too weak to stand, he lay down on the cold ground, his body frail and trembling. Just then, a man appears and heals him with magic, leaving him stunned. He realizes his savior is a wandering adventurer, a middle-aged monk who has reached him along with his companions. As the monk prepares to leave, Might halts him, inquiring how he can become like him, someone who helps others. The man sits beside him and, instead of replying, turns the question back, asking what Might believes gives a person the power to save others. The philosophical redirect works every time. Might answers that it is magic, the same power the monk just used to heal him. The man responds that such choices are not made by humans because no one decides their own occupation. In this, he cannot offer any help. So he pats Might gently on the head and remarks that he believes Might has recovered enough to stand on his own. He comes out of his thoughts and sees a lady standing before him, calling his name. In that moment, he realizes they are both floating in the air, suspended between earth and sky. He looks at her in astonishment, demanding to know who she is and where he has ended up. She replies that at the edge of the world lies the gate to paradise, and before it stretches the land of gods. She thought might have heard of it before, yet to him, it all feels like nothing more than a fairy tale. She continues that a dragon once guarded the gate of paradise, but now it no longer stands, and that is why she, as a goddess, has come to him. Hearing this, Might's eyes widen in shock as he realizes who she is, the goddess Lunalith herself. Now she calls his name and explains that when the dragon died, it released a death curse, and he is the one who received it. Normally, such a curse carries its victim straight to the land of the gods, dying with extra steps. She assures him that once there, he will be freed from all his pain. She also adds that she has spoken with his companions, who wish for his revival, but the choice, she declares, is his to make. She reveals that by him defeating the dragon, they have become powerful enough to interfere with the mortal realm. As a token of gratitude, she grants him one wish. Hearing this, Might's eyes widen. This could be the moment that changes his life forever. He questions if such a thing is truly possible, while deep down he doubts it, thinking this must be nothing more than a story. But she gazes at him calmly and informs him that bringing him here was meant for exactly this reason. He stands there, stunned, unable to grasp what's happening. He implores Lunalith not to laugh at him as he speaks, confessing that in his past life he was just a thief branded as useless, low self-esteem even in the afterlife. And if he truly has one wish to make, then he wishes to become a sage, someone capable of wielding his own magic. After hearing his wish, Lunalith lowers her gaze to her hands and Might begins to think it may not be possible after all. He lets go of his hope, muttering that he knew his wish could never come true, but she responds that it is possible. Changing someone's occupation lies within her power. The only catch, she explains, is that his level will reset to 1, falling from 99, and his abilities will differ entirely from before. Hearing this, he falls completely silent. Then he asks if being level 1 means he'll only be able to move within low-tier regions. Back to the tutorial zone. Lunalith confirms it, adding that it also means he won't be able to see his friends for quite some time. He thinks back to how his friends had gone to their hometowns for a while, realizing that with his level reset, it might be a long time before he can meet them again. Lunalith elaborates that changing his occupation does not automatically grant every attack or healing spell. Learning depends on a learner's natural talent and what he is suited to study, not a blanket gift. Might wonders which kind of magic will truly suit him, sinking into deep, quiet thought. He steels his resolve, and seeing his determination, Lunalith gestures to one side and opens a gate, instructing him that he must walk through it. She explains that if he walks straight through the gate, his occupation will change, and he will arrive in a familiar place. As he begins, she kneels on her knees, calling him back once more to thank him for defeating such a mighty demonic dragon. When he turns to look at her, his mind drifts to the memory of his savior, who once told him that if he did something to surprise the gods, even they could become humble before him. Then, with a gentle smile, he tells her not to bow his head, reminding her that he came this far to seize this very moment. She holds the gate open, and a brilliant light pours from it. As he steps through, the goddess blesses him, urging him to keep moving forward. Suddenly, he steps through the gate and finds himself in a forest. His clothes have completely changed, and the place is bathed in a bright, radiant light. He spots a watchtower nearby and is struck with wonder, thinking it might be Fortune City. He feels as if he has returned, yet notices a change in his voice. Puberty in reverse. When he goes to the riverbank and looks at his reflection, he is astonished to see that he has become noticeably younger than before. His eyes fall on his clothes, which have changed completely, and he notices that his original equipment is now a storage crystal. Seeing this, he becomes even more astonished. He recalls that he couldn't use it before because he had no ability to handle magic, no mana of his own. But now, with his occupation changed just as he wished, he might be able to. Time to test the new features. He holds it between both hands and concentrates on opening it somehow. Energy suddenly flows through his hands, and he stares in amazement as some stats appear before him. Looking down at his hands, he feels a surge unlike anything he's ever known. It's real. Magic. Alive within him. Overwhelmed with joy, he raises both hands high and cheers, unable to contain his excitement. He pulls out a dagger and begins to swing it in his hands, thinking to himself that it's his favorite weapon. Yet he realizes he can't handle it the way he used to. The thought hits him. He's no longer a thief. He'll have to treat such weapons with new care now. He concludes that if he truly has become a sage, he'll have to learn to handle things using his new abilities. Focusing, he mutters the strange name of a spell and attempts to activate a basic fireball. Spoiler, it doesn't work. But nothing happens. Confused, he wonders why, even as a level 1 sage, he can't manage something so basic. He tries summoning ice, thunderbolt, even light itself, but no matter how hard he focuses, nothing responds. Frustrated, he drops to his hands on the ground, questioning why all this is happening to him. Then, suddenly, he recalls what Lunalith had told him, that becoming a sage doesn't guarantee every kind of spell. Should have read the terms and conditions. He can only learn the magic that matches his natural talent. He reasons there must be some kind of magic that suits him, but maybe he needs an activation tool to use it. Something he'll have to buy. Perhaps, just like when he leveled up as a thief, this too will take time and effort. With that thought, he decides to head toward fortune. After that, he proceeds straight to the town and walks into a beginner's guild to register himself. But before reaching the counter, he notices 3 girls arguing with the receptionist. They complain about having carried a heavy treasure box all the way there, only for her to inform them they're not allowed to open it at the counter. Customer service strikes again. The receptionist firmly explains that opening such items isn't permitted here. The girls murmur among themselves, deciding they might have to visit the Thieves' Guild instead. Meanwhile, Might stands nearby, staring at the treasure chest, lost in thought. The receptionist adds that lockpicks are usually available, but they're currently out of stock. One of the girls suggests tearing the chest open with chemicals, but another warns it might ruin whatever's inside. Ignoring the caution, they start forcing it open, gritting their teeth with effort. The receptionist hurriedly insists they take it outside to an open space, but they pay no attention, stubbornly trying to pry the treasure chest right there at the counter. One of the girls, brimming with overconfidence, proclaims she won't fall for any kind of goblin trap because the treasure box was something goblins dropped while fleeing. Another remarks that she has made a drug using her magic but couldn't mix it properly into a potion. Casual alchemy fails. Perfectly normal. Might just stands nearby, silent and bewildered, listening to their ridiculous chatter and disbelief. Might glances around and thinks that, judging by the name of the guild, most people here must be beginners. But the girl standing at the counter doesn't look like one at all. The equipment she carries isn't ordinary. It's refined, polished, and far beyond beginner level. It almost feels like she belongs to some noble or highborn family. The girl standing nearby casts a brief glance at him, and he quickly looks away. Then, observing the other 2 girls, he judges that one seems like a knight, while the other appears to be a pharmacist. The irony is lost on everyone. The girls, on their side, conclude that without a thief, things might get difficult for them. Might, too, feels that he is no longer a thief. Still, he knows he's a beginner, and doesn't want to take any risks. With that in mind, he walks toward the counter where the girls are standing. His eyes fall on the treasure chest beside them, and he thinks that if he were still a thief, he could have opened it easily using just his fingers instead of any lockpick. Just then, the lock of the treasure chest begins to glow, and the girl standing nearby stares at Might in shock, seeing him so close to the chest. The real reason for the girl's surprise is that a faint glow suddenly shines from Might's hand, and a small key materializes in his palm. Old habits die hard. Might stares at it in disbelief, just as stunned as the girl watching him. Might stands frozen by the counter, completely confused about how and why the key appeared in his hand. His mind races, trying to make sense of it, but nothing fits. The magic manual clearly skipped this chapter. One of the girls glances at him, then leans toward her companion and murmurs that she might know who he is. But none of them can quite recognize him. It only feels like a strange déjà vu that fades as quickly as it comes. They brush off the thought, and when the receptionist calls for the next person in line, Might steps forward. With a calm but firm voice, he declares that he wants to register himself. She inquires if it's Might's first day there, then instructs him to state his name. Might replies that his full name is Might Slade, still keeping the thief surname. Branding matters. The receptionist hands him a card and instructs him to touch it to reveal his occupation and level. The moment Might looks at the white beginner card, memories of his old teammates flash in his mind, back when their rank cards showed the highest stats. As he steps forward and presses his hand against the card, it activates. His bio data appears before him, revealing that Might is a level 1 sage. This confirms to Might that he truly has magic, but then his eyes catch the age written on the card, 15 years. Surprised, he inquires whether a level 1 sage can actually use magic. 15 and clueless, peak teenage experience. The receptionist explains that he doesn't need to learn it manually. His magic will develop naturally through real combat. She continues, describing how this city is known as the City of Beginners, where most people below level 10 arrive to hone their skills and gain experience. Usually newcomers here are at least level 3 or higher. Might realizes that being level 1 is quite unusual, which likely means finding friends will be just as difficult. The receptionist grows slightly uneasy, wondering aloud how such a young level 1 sage will manage things alone. Might, watching her body, feels a strange rush stir inside him. He tries to suppress it but can't quite control himself. Perhaps it's because, for the first time, he's looking at someone older than him in this new life. Teenage hormones don't care about your epic backstory. The moment he notices this, Might realizes something. Maybe the world really does look different without a thief's skills. In his past life, he'd been cold and distant, but now he can actually speak politely, something he never managed before. Maybe it's because he's no longer a thief. He's a sage now. Standing there, Might asks the receptionist how he's supposed to figure out what kind of magic he possesses. She clarifies that it all depends on his actions. It's rare for someone not to use their special skill even once. Then she questions if he has ever accidentally activated anything before. Might suddenly recalls the key that had appeared in his hand not long ago, but as soon as he slips his hand into his pocket, the key is gone. Losing things right after getting them, a timeless tradition. He assumes he must have dropped it. Quickly, he wonders aloud if there's any kind of magic that lets someone create things out of nothing, without using any resources. The receptionist glances toward the shelves behind her, flips through a few books, and finally selects one. Reading aloud, she explains that such magic used to be practiced by summoners, rare users, the kind who hardly ever show up in this guild. Then she mentions teleportation magic, but Might doesn't feel any connection to that. Finally, she describes a kind of magic pulled straight out of fairy tales, something called materialization, where pure magical energy can be turned into physical matter. But nothing in that book seems relevant to this town. So, Might thanks her politely. Just then, his eyes drift toward the receptionist's figure, and for a moment, his composure falters. A strange panic stirs within him. Confusion, curiosity, and something he doesn't quite want to name. He's still staring when the receptionist suddenly calls his name, snapping him out of his trance. Caught red-handed. Embarrassed, he apologizes quickly, muttering that he should probably get started with his work. The receptionist gives him a few brief instructions, her tone steady and formal, and after that Might turns away and leaves the guild hall. He walks through the busy town market, noting how most people here are level 3 or higher, and wonders if someone like him will even get a solo assignment. Lost in thought about the locked chest from before, he suddenly hears a voice from behind calling out to him, inviting him to come along. As he turns around, he's surprised to see the same girl from before, the one with the treasure chest. She steps closer, assuring him she hasn't come to cause trouble, and mentions the name Lady Iris. Hearing that name makes Might pause. He remembers Iris as a completely different angel, the one who gave him his powers. Divine workplace politics just got real. It unsettles him even more because, as far as he knows, most of Iris's followers are hostile toward the Thieves Guild. The girl questions Might about the key he had, asking if it came from some goblin treasure chest. He denies it, insisting he's never been there, while she teases that he shouldn't underestimate a maiden's intuition. Might comments that she looks like someone from a wealthy background. She keeps talking while Might silently observes, thinking her mannerisms and dress already make that obvious. The girl ignores his remark and asks if the key Might had is a master key, adding that her instincts are usually correct. He admits softly that even he doesn't know where that key came from the moment he got near the lock. He can't find an answer to it, but inside, he feels there's no need to rush. When in doubt, wing it. He could simply refuse this girl, but now he's caught wondering what exactly he should do. He responds hesitantly that he isn't sure if he can open that lock or not. The girl replies that he's free to decide and promises that if he does open it, she'll give him a share of whatever's inside. Might finds her childlike trust in the world strangely naive. Yet he follows her anyway, leaving the town behind as they head toward the forest together. As they move ahead, he spots the other two girls waiting nearby. They thank Might for his time and apologize for the earlier trouble before introducing themselves. One of them, Listi, is a level 3 swordwoman. The one who looks like a mage is named Nanase, a pharmacist. First impressions were slightly off. The third, Platina, is known by the nickname Platina the Silver Flash. Might ask if it's a nickname, and Platina immediately reasons how it's not self-proclaimed. Nanase turns to him and inquires if, by his looks, he's actually a mage. Might takes out his card and introduces himself, explaining that he's level 1 and his name is Might. Hearing this, the girls realize he must have just registered at the guild. They each pull out their own cards and declare that they are his juniors. Hearing this, Might feels a bit nervous. Then Listi requests to see the key Might has. He explains that he doesn't have any key with him, but that he'll handle everything himself. Listi is impressed, remarking that even a sage has remarkable skill with his hands. The irony escapes everyone once again. Meanwhile, Nanase grows suspicious, finding Might increasingly mysterious. While opening the lock, she steps uncomfortably close to Might. He tells her not to stand so near, and she nervously steps back, explaining that from farther away it's impossible for her to see properly. Meanwhile, Might thinks about his former team members and hopes that he'll be able to manage using his magic here somehow. Nanase warns Might not to look at her that way, quickly clarifying that she just took a bath yesterday. The three girls start chatting among themselves about their bathing experiences, and listening to them, Might realizes their situations must have been quite challenging. Meanwhile, Listi mentions that there are plenty of monsters around, so they don't have much time. She urges Might to get started with his task, priorities, debating baths while monsters lurk nearby. As he sits by the treasure chest, he wonders if he can handle it like he did before. At that moment, the lock begins to glow. He notices that it seems only he can see the glow. Suddenly, a light appears, and a key materializes magically in his hands. Seeing it, he is completely astonished. The girls are amazed, soon realizing that the key isn't real. It's been created purely with magic by Might. Nanase stares, equally awestruck. Seeing that there's no trap in the chest, Might begins to open it. As he turns the key, everyone watches in stunned silence. The pressure of an audience is real. As he finishes turning the key and the lock clicks open, the key vanishes from his hands. He feels a slight fatigue in his arms and realizes that this magical key was the first spell he has ever cast as a sage. Then Listi urges him to go ahead and open the chest. As he lifts the lid, everyone's eyes widen in shock at what they see inside. Even Lunalith watches from the portal, while a voice echoes, remarking how interesting it is that a level 3 human is speaking to a hero without hesitation. When Lunalith turns to look, she sees another goddess standing behind her, calling her by name. During this, the two angels exchange heated words. Heaven has office gossip too. The second angel, named Iris, mentions that she was watching Farina, and asks if Lunalith also wishes to take a look. Lunalith declines, saying it's not within her jurisdiction. Then Iris questions Lunalith about why she selected the thief, and even allowed him to fulfill his wish. Lunalith explains that it wasn't solely her decision. The world itself permitted it. Iris responds coldly that she hopes Lunalith's feelings don't go against the Lord. Afterwards, Iris inquires if Lunalith informed Farina about Might's decision. Instead of answering, she gazes through the portal, lost in thought. On the other side, she sees Might, an extraordinary guy who opened a chest no one else could. Meanwhile, they are amazed and delighted as they discover the treasure inside the chest. Seeing the treasure, everyone becomes overjoyed. Listi holds up a gold coin and calls out to him, exclaiming, "Might, sir?" While Platina declares that from now on she'll call him Lord Might. Instant promotions based on one magic trick. They chatter excitedly among themselves, agreeing that this treasure will open countless opportunities for them. Nanase cheerfully remarks that it means they won't have to drink leaf soup anymore, while Listi retorts that they were never that poor to begin with. The two, standing beside the treasure, start bickering playfully. Might drifts into thought, and seeing him so serious, the girls grow curious. He contemplates how the treasure should be shared among them, and when he voices this, the girls are taken aback. Platina kneels beside the chest and murmurs that he can do whatever he wishes with it, promising she won't feel any resentment toward him. Might assure her there's no need to overthink it so deeply. Hesitant, Listi admits she isn't sure if she should speak up, but she suggests that Might take half of the share. Might steps toward the rare box, retrieves only 3 silver coins, and states that this is enough for him. The girls stare, wide-eyed and speechless. Might explains that he had asked earlier, and as a beginner doing freelance work, he was told his cut would be 30%. But since this is his first job, he's only taking this much. Hearing this, the girls think it's still far too little. He reflects inwardly, realizing he might be acting a bit too gallant. Knowing anyone could easily fool girls this naive, Platina eyes him suspiciously and questions if this is really what he wants. She feels frustration bubbling inside, but might reassure her that he isn't misreading the situation. Being too honest confuses people more than lying. As they continue their conversation, Might suddenly senses something. He spots a large group of goblins approaching, and the girls quickly grow alert. They notice that the goblins are armed, some carrying unusually large weapons. At that moment, Platina lifts her sword and stands ready, proclaiming that she will protect them. Might recognizes that Platina is a defensive type. Listy steps forward and urges him to run while they handle the rest. For a beginner, Might finds all three girls remarkably courageous. Meanwhile, Nanase fumbles through her bag, trying to figure out which potion is missing. She finally grabs one that makes the enemy amorous, not exactly standard combat equipment. Might shoots her a look and asks whether she has a potion that actually works on foes. She nods quickly, then inquires, half teasing, half serious, why someone at level 1 seems so calm. He replies that it's his first battle, so he's actually nervous inside. He tells himself that he's still a level 1 sage without attack magic, but he doesn't believe they'll lose today. Fate, he feels, has brought him here, and it's his duty to guide these three through a victory. Platina charges forward and draws the goblins' attention. As their focus shifts, they rush toward her. Watching this, Might is completely astonished. Platina swings her sword with strength and precision, striking the goblins down one by one, shouting that this is why she keeps her body in constant training. Gym membership paying off in unexpected ways. She cuts through them methodically, and Might, standing nearby, watches her skill in awe. As the smaller goblins collapse, a large hobgoblin locks eyes on Platina and lunges at her. Might calls out a warning for her to dodge, but she doesn't flinch. He realizes she feels no sense of danger at all. Platina raises her shield to block the hobgoblin's strike, but Might quickly rushes forward and touches it. Because he arrives at the perfect moment, his Sageborn ability activates through the shield. The goblin continues to attack, but neither Platina nor Might feels any impact. The blows simply slide off harmlessly. Platina suddenly feels light as air, as though the goblin's punches no longer reach her. With a subtle motion of her arm, the creatures are thrown backward and collapse. When she relaxes slightly, she asks what he just did, but he stays silent, staring at his hands. He simply mutters that it's a sage's magic. Platina accepts the answer with a nod. Might thinks that explanation is enough for now. As they speak, something drops from above and lands among the goblins, causing them to burst into uncontrollable laughter. It's one of Nanase's potions, her so-called secret weapon, yet it doesn't seem effective at all. The goblins keep laughing hysterically, and Nanase realizes her concoction failed. Listy yells for them to stop laughing, shouting that they're fighting desperately and there's nothing funny about that. Strangely, the goblins pause at her outburst, and Might can't help marveling at the sheer absurdity of it all. Scolding enemies mid-battle, a bold strategy. He glances at Listy and thinks that only someone with noble poise could pull off a command like that. Then, as all the goblins charge again, he realizes her words may have reduced their hostility, but not the hobgoblins. Just then, a goblin fires an arrow toward them. Before the arrows can reach the girls, Might suddenly steps in front of them. The trio freezes as he catches the arrows mid-air, twists them effortlessly, and hurls them back at their attackers. The projectiles strike the same goblins who fired them. The girls gape in disbelief, unsure whether what they're seeing is magic or pure skill. Level 1 doing level 99 things. The massive hobgoblin charges, and Listy shouts a frantic warning. Might flicks the coin in his hand. It shoots forward with explosive force, striking the hobgoblin square in the chest and sending it hurtling backward through the air. The hobgoblin crashes to the ground at Might's feet. He stands calmly, assessing the battlefield, wondering whether to pursue, but decides against it. The smaller goblins, terrified, grab their wounded and flee into the woods. Might gazes down at his hands, astonished. Even as a level 1 sage, his physical strength hasn't diminished at all. The girls watch him, wide-eyed and impressed. Nanase whispers to Platina that she promised protection, making her embarrassed, while Listy urges her to calm down. Listy admits that she feels useless compared to him, but Might praises them all, assuring her that her attack power alone is enough for them to defeat any enemy. He also commends Nanase and Platina, telling them they did a great job and that each of them fought well and fulfilled their roles. The girls are touched by his sincerity, as he reflects memories of his old friends surface, how he used to sit with them, analyzing their strengths to help defeat the dragon. One of them had once told him he was always good at spotting blind spots. Thinking of his past life fills him with melancholy. He quietly announces that he's leaving, but before he can go, he senses that the girls don't want him to. At that moment, a new skill awakens within him. Lock Eye. Almost simultaneously, another skill emerges. White Key. The power to generate any kind of key using his magic, though the activation chime is audible only to him. Powers unlocking like app notifications. He realizes this ability must be one of his core gifts. Just then, Listy grasps his hand. She insists that Might doesn't need to leave, saying she knows he contributed the most to their success. Platina adds that he was the one who protected them, and Nanase reminds him that he already shared all his coins. The three of them plead for him to continue their discussion as they get back to town. Might thinks to himself that as long as these girls remain honest, he'll be safe with them. And perhaps this is fate's way of telling him to stay. With a faint smile, he decides to go along, for now. Everyone carries the items gathered from the goblin to the guild, where they receive 40 silver coins. They all stand amazed. This is far more than they expected. Goblin Trash just paid their grocery bill. The receptionist explains that hobgoblins are rarely seen, which is why the bounty is so high. The goblins are low-ranking monsters overall. Once they sense someone powerful, they abandon their territory and avoid humans for long stretches of time. Meanwhile, Platina mentions that until now, they were not able to track their bounty target, while the receptionist, grinning, says she's glad a fourth member has joined their team. The girls clarify that for now they've only sought Might's help and haven't officially changed their party. Just then, a voice calls out, inviting the girls to join another adventurers group, insisting they'd fit in better there. Might thinks to himself that these people must be popular, and probably people competed for them in the past as well. But the girls firmly refuse, saying they have no plans to join anyone else's team. At the same time, Listy remarks that she wants to talk with the lad. Everyone starts teasing Might, calling him the rookie mage. Suddenly, one of the boys steps forward angrily, demanding to know why they're trying to team up with some random stranger. He introduces himself as Brando and boasts that he's the strongest here, claiming no one else is worth relying on. Turning to Listy, he smirks and adds that soon they'll have no choice but to accept him. From behind, Nanase whispers to Might that while the others are drawing attention, they should slip away. Might notes her closeness. A few men nearby murmur among themselves, wishing they had a girl whisper that close to them. Might, however, thinks these three are already far too popular, and if he stays any longer, trouble is inevitable. Popularity comes with a side of chaos. As night falls, they all sit together for dinner. Might accepts the girl's invitation, and the trio raises their glasses, cheering to celebrate his good work. When he takes his first bite, he's startled by how delicious the food is. He compliments the chef, saying they must be exceptionally skilled. Listy smiles, explaining that's exactly why they're staying here tonight. Soon, Platina and the others get swept into their usual lively banter. Nanase remarks that Listy is quite beautiful and even from a noble family, yet still lives so modestly. Listy shakes her head, saying she's nothing more than a wandering adventurer. Platina laughs and doesn't skip the opportunity to mention her nickname. Might points out that it's not exactly the right time for nicknames, and that's when he learns that Listy and Platina arrived in the city together, while Nanase met them on registration day. Since then, the three have been inseparable. Nanase mentions that she's level 2, while Platina and Listy are both level 3. Their attention then shifts to Might, who's only a level 1 sage but already displays impressive power. Curious, they ask if a sage can possess other abilities as well. He explains that he's been relying on only one thing, his key magic, the same spell he used earlier. Platina asks if it's a special unlocking spell, noting that she's heard such magic is handy when a party lacks a thief or scout. But in his mind, Might is thinking about the divine knowledge behind that magic, the ability to perceive even the unseen locks placed upon people. Platina nods thoughtfully and asks Might how old he is. She then shares that she's 18, while Listy is 15 and Nanase is 14. In response, Might shows them his card, revealing that he's also 15. The moment they see it, all three girls stare at him in astonishment. They accept it quickly, knowing the information on a card can't be forged. Smiling, Listy tells him she's glad someone her age is so capable. It's inspiring. She adds that the next time they meet in town, they should get along even better. After that, everyone turns their attention back to their meal. Might takes a sip of his drink. It's apple juice, and he finds it surprisingly refreshing. He's not used to such fine meals anyway. As he drinks, memories of his former companions, Farina and the others, resurface. He recalls how, ever since meeting them, he's only returned to town occasionally, and he wonders what his old comrades might be doing now. Apple juice triggers more feelings than therapy. By then, the girls have drunk a bit too much and start speaking cheerfully with Might. Platina leans forward, teasing that he hasn't had a drink in a while. He cautions her that moving like that might be risky for her, but she insists she's fine. She's not drunk. He calls for the waiter and requests some water. When he approaches, he asks whether our lad has joined the girls' party. He clarifies that it's nothing like that. He's just cooperating with them for now. The girls exchange glances, and when Might asks what they're looking at, they answer simply, nothing. A little later, Platina becomes so dizzy that Might lifts her onto his shoulder. As they walk, Listy praises him for being strong, but he brushes it off modestly. Nanase laughs, saying it looks like he's kidnapping her, and he asks which side the room is on. Listy points toward the third room ahead. As they approach, Nanase suddenly senses a thief nearby. Mike quickly sets Platina down beside Listy and says he'll go check. The moment he opens the door, he spots the window wide open, and several figures leaping out, escaping below with their belongings. Without hesitation, he dives straight out after them, thinking that these thieves must be using some special skill, but it's nothing he can't handle. He gives chase, and after a while, their trail leads him to a small hut hidden in the shadows. Inside, the thieves sit laughing, boasting that just by looking at those girls, they knew they'd be carrying something valuable. One mentions that a courier merchant will arrive tomorrow, and they'll use him to slip away unnoticed. But as they start opening the stolen box, the room suddenly goes dark. Thieves celebrate too early as usual. They freeze, unable to understand what's happening or why the lights have vanished. For a moment, they think a guard has found them, but when the light returns, there's no guard at all. Standing before them is Might, his presence drawing every eye. The thieves stiffen at the sound of his voice, shocked that he's managed to find them. For an instant, they assume he's one of them. Not wanting any conflict, they grab their loot and try to flee. They bolt from the hut, and as they run, one thief whispers their boss's name, Mabel, only for another to snap at him not to mention it. They attempt to lure Might toward a trap they've set, but before they can spring it, they stumble right into the one Might had prepared earlier. Caught and dangling from the trees, they stare in disbelief, wondering how the trap appeared there. Might steps closer and tells them that if you spot a trap in time, you can always turn it against your enemies. Their own trap swings them into instant regret. Hanging helplessly, the thieves mutter that their game is over. Might walks up to one and orders that before the night ends, they must return everything they stole. The thieves gape at him, shocked that he's letting them off so easily. But Might leans in and warns that he's not letting them go completely. They should remember that he's always watching. The thieves, convinced he's in the same trade, panic and flee, knowing that ignoring his warning could cost them their lives. Might reflects that it's fortunate something useful slipped from their lips. Now he knows Mabel isn't connected to them. Following their trail, he reaches a well and climbs down inside. There he discovers a hidden door and unlocks it, using a magical key of his own creation. He proceeds through the tunnel until another door appears ahead. The sight stirs memories of his past life. He knows this place. Standing before it, he recalls that once this door could only be opened with a duplicate key. But now, as a sage, his own key suffices. His key upgrades faster than software patches. When he unlocks it, silence fills the air, though a familiar scent lingers. On the other side, a girl steps out after a bath, drying herself off, unaware of anyone nearby. Suddenly spotting Might, she gasps, grabs a dagger, and attacks, shouting that he's an intruder. Dodging her strikes, he urges her to calm down, but she keeps coming, relentless. In the midst of blocking her blows, he calls out her name and introduces himself as Crow. Recognition flashes in Mabel's eyes. She freezes, realizing the boy before her is the one from her childhood. She calms a little and inquires if by Crow he really means he's Might. He picks up the towel lying on the ground, hands it to her, and apologizes for leaving her guild. Family reunions always need a towel buffer. He admits that if he ever wanted to talk to her again, he knew he'd have to return here. She snatches the towel from his hand, wraps it around herself, and notes that he looks exactly the same as he did 10 years ago when he left the guild. Her eyes scan his clothes, and she wonders aloud why he looks like a magician, because as far as she remembers, Might was a thief. He replies that this might surprise her, but he's become a bit younger now, and he's no longer a thief. Might explains that he's managed to become a sage, then raises his hands and performs a bit of magic to prove it. Mabel doesn't believe him at first, thinking such a thing is only possible through a miracle. Suddenly, a memory flashes in her mind. She's shouting at Might, angry and frustrated, asking if he truly believes in that prophecy and if he really thinks he can defeat a dragon without using magic. Back then, Might had simply said goodbye and walked away. Old arguments resurface like bad leftovers. Now, seeing him again, Mabel feels a twinge of embarrassment. She lightly punches him in the chest and assures him she trusts him. After all, he's her little brother. A while later, she returns dressed in fresh clothes and reminds Might that he had always been troubled by his lack of magical power. Yet, she admits he often acted cold-hearted toward her. Might quickly protests that it isn't true and, on the contrary, apologizes for bothering her now. Mabel confides that she never wanted him to become the kind of man who could sneak into a guildmaster's room like that. Might remarks that this must mean she succeeded in replacing the old man and became the guildmaster herself. He then asks about the others, and Mabel informs him that they're all managing their own responsibilities. Boss level achieved while he was away. Reflecting on everything and the people involved, Might realizes he's no longer part of their world and shouldn't interfere. He then calls Mabel his elder sister and explains that some members of her guild have been stealing from the people he's now connected with. If it happens again, it could create serious trouble for them. Hearing this, Mabel immediately agrees that those thieves deserve punishment. Might reassures her there's no need to worry. He already forced the culprits to return the stolen goods, adding that there are many other ways for a thief to earn money. Mabel nods thoughtfully, promising to keep an eye on things because if the city guards uncover her guild's involvement, she could face penalties. Then Mabel steps closer, thanking him and gently placing her hand on his cheek. She asks softly what she can do for him. Might once again calls her his big sister. Mabel replies that she never thought he would return because, back then, he had said it would be better if he died on his own path. Sibling guilt trips hit harder than spells, but Mabel acknowledges that he continued his journey. Might explains that he met some very good friends who helped him move forward. Mabel wonders if his group has disbanded, and he answers that they haven't. But in truth, his friends believe he's dead, so each return to their hometowns. Mabel pats him comfortingly and says that if he's alive, she knows he'll find a way to meet them again. At that moment, Might notices a lock hanging from Mabel's chest. When she asks about it, he quickly replies that it's nothing unusual. He's a sage now, but still struggles to use magic effectively. Mabel advises that if he wants to master magic, he should read spellbooks. Hearing this, Might feels genuinely happy, realizing he hadn't considered that before, and he admits that Mabel truly saved him. Pro tip from Sis beats any tutorial. Seeing him like this, Mabel smiles, remarking that he's still the same, unchanged in the slightest. Meanwhile, Might quietly wonders why the key to the lock on Mabel's chest hasn't yet summoned itself to him. Might quietly notes the lock on Mabel's chest disappeared, though he didn't summon the key. Mabel then mentions that next time, he can leave a message for her in the upper office, and it will reach her. Might assures her he'll do the same. She tells him to take care of himself and walks him to the gate to say goodbye. After that, Might runs off, leaving the guild behind. When he reaches Listy, he finds her asleep on the ground. He asks if the stolen goods have all been returned, and she nods sleepily, confirming that everything was recovered. Just then, the door opens, and Platna appears looking for Listy. Seeing her asleep, Might asks if she can help him lift her and set her down properly. Platna agrees and assists. Teamwork makes the bedtime easier. As they lift her up, Might recalls being told once that he carried her as if he were kidnapping her. So this time, he carefully lays her down to rest comfortably. As he turns to leave, Platna stops him at the door and thanks him, promising she'll return the favor. Might replies that it's no problem and that they'll meet again someday. Later, Might goes to his room and lies down, thinking he hasn't stayed alone in a simple place for a long time. His fate had once been to die fighting a dragon, but he never imagined everything that has happened since. He realizes he'll need to search for magical devices in the morning because without them, he won't be able to perform regular magic. Suddenly, his eyes light up with joy. He even managed to drive away a hobgoblin, so perhaps his level will have increased by morning. Content with that thought, he falls asleep in his room, while elsewhere, Mabel sits in hers, lost in deep thought. Level-up dreams crash into reality. She muses that Might has now become a magic user and quite powerful, yet she wonders if he truly defeated a dragon before, meaning he trained himself to his absolute limits, saved this world, and became a hero. She admits inwardly that she might have held a grudge against him, but this time, she couldn't bring herself to feel anything but pride. From outside the door, a guild member enters and reports to Mabel, addressing her as guildmaster, about 3 juniors in the guild. She instructs him to bring them over. As he begins explaining, Mabel interrupts, saying she already knows everything. She directs him to keep a close watch on them and ensure they follow their superior's orders. The man remarks that he expected the guildmaster would already be aware of all this. Mabel nods and dismisses him. Once alone, she glances at her reflection in the glass, notices a faint blush on her face, and quietly wonders what kind of expression that is. Mirror moments reveal more than words. When Might wakes the next morning, he realizes he's slept for quite some time, and his level hasn't increased. Yesterday, while trying to appear composed, he had also spent much of his share, so now he needs money and will have to take on new tasks. Just then, the receptionist calls him over, telling him that he handled a very good job yesterday. He modestly explains that he was just passing by and lent a hand. The receptionist chuckles, saying the three girls won't see it that way. Might turns and spots them standing by the quest board, reading through new postings. A fresh quest has appeared. A plant monster has shown up in the fields. Nanase notes that the mission requires 4 or more people, but they don't have enough members. Questboard, the ultimate matchmaking app. At that moment, the 3 girls notice Might and greet him with a cheerful, "Good morning." Listy jokes that she wants to mention something about yesterday, that she was quite pathetic as a partner. Nanase thanks him for his help, but admits it feels strange to ask for assistance again today. Might responds that even as a level 1, he couldn't have handled it alone and would be happy to join them. Hearing this, the 3 girls brighten instantly. Meanwhile, Might reflects that last night he visited the Thieves' Guild, a decision that went somewhat against his new nature. Platna declares that no matter how powerful he becomes, she'll protect him. Nanase adds that she's prepared new potions, and Listy expresses her own excitement. Protection Squad assembles in record time. Might replies that he still can't use normal magic yet, but he'll give his best. Then he asks if they'll let him join their party. The 3 girls beam and tell him that, in truth, it's a question they should have asked him first. Suddenly, Might notices faint locks glowing on each of their chests. His instincts whisper in his mind again, guiding him about his abilities. He sees that, so far, only Nanis hasn't been unlocked, and he realizes it might depend on the person's heart. After thinking it through, he prepares to accompany them. Others around the guild look on in surprise that the girls finally allowed a boy to join them. But it isn't one of them. A few appear disappointed. Meanwhile, Might walks alongside the 3 girls toward their new quest. Jealous onlookers update their resumes. Listy suddenly remarks that since they've officially become a 4-member team, they need to choose a name. Platna suggests Silver Flash or Flash Squad. Nanase proposes naming it after the moon, since last night's moon was so beautiful. Still, Listy feels something's missing. Then Platna smiles and proposes calling their party the Moonlight Party. Everyone loves the name. Watching them, Might recalls his old team and their endless debates over party names. As the girls chat and walk ahead calling back to him with bright smiles, Might thinks that until he's free and meets everyone again, he'll have to start from the beginning. New chapter. Same naming drama? Happily, he joins hands with the 3 of them, and together they officially form the Moonlight Party, vowing to move forward as a true team. After that, they follow their quest and arrive at a village. Seeing its beauty, they wonder if a monster might be nearby. Picturesque villages always hide the worst surprises. Listy points out that the request came from this very place. Might explains that they received a quest about plant monsters, so they'll need to stay alert while meeting the client. But just as they start moving, plants suddenly spring up and entangle the 3 girls completely, preventing them from moving. The vines reach out to different parts of their bodies, holding them tight, while Might thinks to himself what an unexpected disaster this has become. He watches, worried, as the 3 girls struggle desperately against the plants. Nanase cries out that the plants are draining all her energy. Realizing he has to act, Might knows it's difficult, but he takes out a coin and twirls it in his hands just like before. As soon as the coin leaves his grip, it flies toward the vines, striking them in different spots and severing them all. Coin toss saves the day again. The 3 girls start to fall, but Might catches them before they hit the ground, letting them land safely. He instructs them to step back a little while he positions himself at a short distance, observing the plants. To his surprise, the vines make no follow-up attack. Afterward, they pick up the remains to see if they're truly monsters or not. Platina remarks that they look like turnips. Lifting one of the tendrils, Nanase muses that she can make a potion from it to restore her energy. Meanwhile, Might stands nearby, still watching the plants carefully. Looking at them, the group thinks these are more vegetable monsters than actual plant beasts. But Listy wonders aloud if that's really possible, given how strong and tough they were. Meanwhile, Might holds a coin in his hand. pondering whether it's really okay to use it as a weapon, since as a sage he can't use his other arms. Just then they hear voices nearby calling them over. Turnips with attitude ruin every salad. A girl shouts to them, introducing herself as their client. She suggests they should first hear what the client has to say. After that, they follow her to the client's house. When they arrive, she thanks them and introduces herself as Allie Miller, along with her daughter, Marino. Listy introduces their team as the Moonlight Party, and Allie nods, repeating everyone's names with a polite smile. As they're offered drinks, Allie explains that her family has been farmers for generations, but recently the plants have started attacking them. Marino adds that the vines even attacked her father while he was protecting her. Platina casually mentions the turnip plants during the conversation. Hearing all this, the group grows more concerned about what they'll have to face, while the Moonlight Party quietly observes. Listy inquires if Ms. Allie has any idea how these vegetables turned into monsters. Allie responds that every year she offers tributes to the land spirits, but lately it seems the spirits are no longer satisfied. She admits nervously that perhaps she has angered them. Land spirits apparently hate skimpy offerings. Platina and Nanase exchange uneasy glances. They never imagined the land spirits could actually cause harm. Might comments that if that's the case, they'll either have to defeat them or negotiate. Listy recommends going the diplomatic route, but Ms. Allie explains that they don't have many people, and the land spirits have peculiar tastes, though the girls don't fully understand what she means. Then Platina declares that, in this case, they'll handle the spirits themselves. Hearing this, Allie and her daughter brighten up, saying they'll need to prepare the ritual. The Moonlight Party feels highly motivated. After that, Allie takes the three girls outside and leaves Might in the room. He asks if he should stay there, and Allie assures him that yes, he'll need to wait inside for a while. Time passes as he sits alone, hearing faint sounds from outside but enjoying his drink. Solo downtime beats group fittings any day. He notes that the monsters hadn't appeared earlier. They showed up only when the girls went out, and they attacked women quickly. Just then, Allie returns, thanking Might for waiting. He inquires where the others are. Allie explains that they'll be taken by carriage to the ritual site. Might feels a little uneasy and probes if something's wrong, but Allie reassures him that everything is fine. Meanwhile, strange noises come from the other room. The three girls are trying on some impractical outfits that don't fit them, struggling amusingly as they adjust. Hearing their chatter, Allie grows nervous, thinking they might even cancel the quest. She's still standing there, trembling slightly while Might approaches the door, knocks, and checks if they're ready. They respond that they need a little more time. Platina reassures the others that if it's Might, there's no need to be so flustered. Wardrobe malfunctions delay every ritual. After a short while, the door opens, and the three girls, hiding themselves beneath a cloth, climb into the carriage. Might, Allie, and her daughter drive them to the ritual site, which, upon arrival, Might notices looks quite old and weathered. Once there, Might asks what exactly they'll need to do. Marino hands him a drum, explaining that he's to play a simple rhythm while the girls dance. She shows him the outfits they'll wear, and Might is taken aback. The mother and daughter tell him that their grandfather often said land spirits particularly enjoy such garments. But as the pair try to slip away, Platina catches them and pointedly asks where they're running off to, reminding them that they were supposed to give the first example. Both of them become flustered, but Platina doesn't let them leave. Demonstration duty backfires spectacularly. They can't escape because she calls them firmly back to her side. Meanwhile, Might, standing a few paces away, hears a whisper echo in his mind. No man is needed here, but it will be fun to watch. Hearing this, he grows alert, scanning his surroundings, trying to locate the source of the voice.
Here I am.